Psychiatric evaluation immediately. Not a doc, but symptoms sound like paranoid schizophrenia. Best have him checked and treated. User CharmingRoof7990 makes a concerning post on r/mental health Philippines. Spouse thinks he's being targeted. My husband, 32, has been going on for the past year that he's being gang-stalked. It's really annoying because he can't go one day without saying that I, 30-year-old female, is gang-stalking him. He even goes as far as saying that our daughters 12 and 8 are in on it. He believes there's people attacking him with, quote, energy weapons, and that pretty much everyone everywhere is in on it. He can be driving and anyone who has a headlight that doesn't work is in on it. Any car alarm that goes off or sirens are supposedly to get him annoyed. Apparently, he's part of a group of people known as targeted individuals that are being tracked on an app that everyone has so that they know when the targeted individuals are nearby. I'm really, really tired of it. It has consumed his life, which has now consumed mine. I'm tired of being called a perpetrator. I can't even cough, sneeze, or scratch my nose without him making some dumb remark about me doing it to gang-stalk him. Is anyone going through the same thing with their significant other? Any advice on how to handle this? There is an immense amount of posts that you'll find on Reddit, 4chan, X, Facebook, and endless websites dedicated to gang-stalking. Gang-stalking is a worldwide phenomena, a rabbit hole hiding in plain sight, with allegations of paid actors that not only follow victims wherever they go, but perform organized routines to cause inconvenient coincidences, something victims call street theater. Claims of non-consensual surgical implants installed into a person's body that allow gang-stalkers the ability to track, monitor, and even control the actions of a victim. And if you think that's strange, well, you haven't seen anything yet. See, you are currently looking at what the site targetedjustice.com claims to be microwave burns. These alleged microwave burns supposedly radiate from devices that gang-stalkers install in different areas of one's living space, even from a toilet.
It's September the 10th, 2024, and the back of my legs are getting targeted from frequencies emitting from my toilet right here. This bottom stem part.
These photos and videos are concerning. And it still gets darker.
There is technology that can project sounds and voices into a person's head who is targeted for such psychological torture. That's what happened to me.
Victims of gang stalking call themselves targeted individuals, or TIs for short, and they believe that they are at the center of a mass surveillance and torture campaign, meant to slowly break them down. Until,
if I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your thoughts. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings. And if you ever learn the truth, you will understand what I did here to protect myself and my family.
November 20th, 2014. It's a day many will never forget in Tallahassee and beyond. What started out as a night of studying in a college library turned to tragedy because of one man, Myron May. May believed he was a victim of gang stalking.
Gang stalking is an umbrella term describing a series of techniques utilized by a group to instill mental instability within a victim. with the intent to discredit, sabotage, harass, extort, and even drive a victim to unalive. A victim of gang stalking can have their reputation, credibility, careers, relationships, and entire life put into ruins. Techniques such as mind games, perception manipulation, organized stalking, covert harassment, constant surveillance, and possibly electronic harassment are used to push a victim to mental instability. Proving one's targeting can be very challenging, and there is very little law enforcement support, which allows gang stalking to be extremely effective.
Electronic harassment, synthetic telepathy, voice-to-skull technology. Chances are you haven't heard of these terms.
How much more can you invade me than to go into my brain? It sounds like somebody else is reading the book, only it's thoughts.
We're not having a group hallucination. This is actually something that's happening.
They're called directed energy weapons. These weapons use microwave technology, particle beams, sound beams, and other methods to control, damage, induce schizophrenic experiences, and even kill. You'll often hear targeted individuals refer to something called voice-to-skull messaging, or by its acronym, V2K. Voice-to-skull technology can cause victims to hear voices and other audio inside of their own head, completely inaudible to anyone else. You may hear mentions of remote neuromonitoring, which is a form of functioning neuroimaging, allegedly developed by the NSA. This is a device capable of accessing and decoding thoughts without a person's knowledge or consent. You may even hear mentions of synthetic telepathy, which is where two brains can communicate with each other just by thinking. This is achieved through an intermediary, such as a computer. Targeted individuals allege that they are under the control of these directed energy weapons. They believe they are the guinea pigs of this mind control technology that's being implemented all around the world in covert programs, sort of like an MKUltra 2.0. But is there any proof that these weapons are real? Is there any evidence at all? Well, as it turns out,
They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death.
there's plenty of it. Okay, just because directed energy weapons exist doesn't mean they are actually being used on unsuspecting individuals. But you can clearly begin to see the complexity and sensitivity of this subject. While researchers state that gang stalking as a phenomena is due to mental illness, targeted individuals insist that they are victims. So what organization is behind the program? Who are the alleged gang stalkers? Well, isn't it obvious? Government agencies, law enforcement, the military, insurance companies, the CIA, the FBI, pharmaceutical companies, secret societies, homeland security, criminal organizations are just a few examples of alleged gang stalkers. In fact, there's a whole category of targeted individuals who identify as chosen ones. Chosen ones believe that they were chosen by God to walk an appointed spiritual path. They believe that they must prove themselves worthy or able to overcome challenges put forth by demonic entities in order to protect their unique spiritual gifts. They believe that demons appear in their life, often in the form of people, and they must stay on their spiritual path. Chosen ones may blame sickness or negative emotions on black magic, witchcraft, and other spiritual attacks. Now, moving on from chosen ones, the most popular culprit of alleged gang stalking is some type of government agency. The idea that the government is practicing mass surveillance isn't anything new or surprising. With news headlines in the media every couple of years highlighting whistleblowers that have come forth to allege that our phones, computers, and other devices can be hacked to watch and monitor individuals, I think we all just sort of accept the possibility. I mean, considering that the internet was invented by DARPA, a government agency, who as of 2021 has a mission statement to, quote, make pivotal investments in breakthrough technologies for national security. On top of that, the touchscreen on your phone, the voice recognition, the microphone, the GPS, the microprocessors, the batteries for those microprocessors, the wireless technology, that was all created by DARPA. Now, DARPA technology is said to be 20 years ahead of civilian technology. Now, I'm not alleging that the government is watching you. I'm saying that the concept isn't that strange. In fact, by 2018, the Monmouth Polling Institute found that 82% of respondents voiced that they believe that the government is watching the actions of American citizens. But gang stalking goes far beyond just being watched and listened to. When researchers conduct gang stalking case studies, the requirement for a case to be considered gang stalking is that there must be at least 3 individuals involved. The group must conspire to stalk, harass, or threaten a victim, and must be organized with a clear purpose. By these qualifications, as long as there's more than 3 or more people involved, it's gang stalking. And if it's not some government agency, often corporate organizations are also accused of this nefarious activity. I want to preface this by saying that I do not condone the harassment of any individual. I wasn't going to mention this story, but this individual has voiced that she would want her story shared. There are some allegations in this story that are simply that, allegations. Please do not attempt to contact any individual mentioned in this video. These attacks are happening to me, Ella Gorla, because I was a whistleblower while an executive director at MAC Cosmetics and Estee Lauder companies. If these things are happening to me, they can happen to anybody. Ella Gorla is a co-founder and CEO of 25BWB, a beauty company promoting racial diversity within the beauty industry. Educated and acclaimed for what she has accomplished within her field, at one point being named Inc. magazine's 11 Leaders to Watch in 2011.
Her name is Ella Gorla. Now, Time Inc. called her website one of New York City's top 10 startups, and the fashion world has fallen in love with her site, iella.com.
Ella was active on different social media sites, one of which being Instagram, making posts regularly. Her posts showed off her various accomplishments, news articles, motivational quotes, and more. All normal content for any Instagram user to be posting. She even made a post celebrating the fact that she got accepted into seminary school. Things, however, took an unexpected twist on April 19th, 2021. Gorla makes a post with the following message. I'm sharing this because I have no choice. My life is in danger. It's as if someone has chosen to sacrifice me with absolute no regard for my hopes and dreams. I'm stunned to have to write this, especially at a time when I should be celebrating admission to seminary school. I'm pleading with you to please share and contact the Manhattan DA to investigate or anyone you know. I do not trust my own sister in the city. It's heartbreaking and sad. God will prevail. Ella goes on to claim the following. Wednesday, April 14th, around 8:30 p.m., someone leaked the gas into the apartment I was temporarily leasing. My face became tingly, I got dizzy, my pulse elevated to 130. I barely made it out the door. It nearly killed me. I believe the gas was carbon monoxide. Fire department, NYPD, and EMS was called. A week prior, April 8th, the building claimed they had to replace a carbon monoxide detector. I resisted, but they insisted. The 2 men that came to replace it looked more like security agents than technicians. I was very uncomfortable. Ella goes on. After the incident at the apartment, I went to a hotel in the city. Again, an odorless, tasteless gas was leaked into the hotel room I was staying in. Similar symptoms, dizziness, accelerated heart rate. I was terrified. I knew I was being targeted. The day prior, I noticed a very strange guy on my floor when I left my room. I notified the front desk and had the hotel attendant escort me back to my room. Ella claims that she was being targeted and that someone was out to harm her, making a follow-up post in which she states, "Someone is trying to kill me. I would never harm myself. I need protection. Please share this message." Over the next several days, Ella goes on to post what she claims to be video/photo evidence.
But why don't you guys go in the room and stay in there for 5 minutes? But if anyone can stay in there for 5 minutes, because you're firemen, right? You're supposed to do the right thing. Yes, but you know something is wrong. That's why you can't stay in there for 5 minutes. Okay? Shame on you. Shame on you. You're firemen. You're supposed to be saving lives, not covering stuff up. I'm supposed to go to seminary school. I just got accepted to Princeton Seminary. I'm supposed to go in the fall. And people are pretending like I'm crazy.
2 days after the original post about the gas leak, Ella makes a post about blood sacrifices taking place within the music and media industry. She believes that she herself had been offered up as a blood sacrifice. She claimed there was a cover-up, alongside claiming that the police refused to take a report, the fire department refused to investigate, media outlets were refusing to cover the events, and going as far to say that her bank accounts were frozen and her PIN changed. Eventually, Ella goes on to give her reasoning as to why she believes she was being gang-stalked. All because I had the audacity to stand up for the rights of black women at Estee Lauder. Ella continues to post content to this day, being quite active on Instagram and TikTok. Most of her uploads consist of her attempting to document evidence. She posts information about targeted individuals and about the directed energy weapons that are allegedly being used to torture victims around the world. She states that she will not be silenced, and these beliefs are echoed all across the internet. There is a relentless online movement dedicated to documenting and exposing evidence of gang stalking. From online communities, dedicated websites, to entire YouTube channels, there is no shortage of disturbing photo and video evidence. Now, I'm not gonna lie, most of it really isn't evidence. Most of it is just targeted individuals walking up to random people and accusing them of being perps, short for perpetrators.
Here's a freaking satanic perp right here. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, you do. You know exactly who I am. Fuck. Yeah, see how they play dumb? Fuck. Right? They play dumb, right? You know exactly where I live. You know exactly who I am. Yeah, I know you don't. Look at this. You see this shit?
Where do you live?
You see this stuff, guys? Look at them all. How many more cars you need to see? Eh? Look at them all. You see this shit, though? There it is, right? There it is, guys.
That's not to say that there isn't some interesting, well, more so disturbing posts. A user by the name HopefulWar9584 makes an odd post on r/V2K-Truth, a subreddit where self-described victims of voice-to-skull technology post their experiences and alleged evidence. Please, targets, look for these implants in your ears. These implants cause the voices in your head and mimic schizophrenia. The user goes on to post the following photos. Also, as a side note, the text on these photos were added by the user, not by me. And also, these pictures are the inside of an ear canal, which isn't really graphic, but just a warning. What's most interesting to me is that when you look at these posts, photos, and videos, more often than not, you'll see comment after comment, not only encouraging the gang stalking narrative, but comments claiming that they too are victims. There is something called the Bader-Meinhof phenomena. It's a frequency bias. This is where you become aware of something for the first time, be it a word, a dog breed, a brand, or what have you, and suddenly, you are seeing that thing everywhere. Sometimes people call this blue car syndrome. So when you start looking into gang stalking tactics, you may begin to notice them everywhere.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about gang stalking, operations and tactics, and some of the schemes they like to use.
There is something called the Truman Show delusion, otherwise known as Truman syndrome or disorder. This is a type of delusion where a person believes that their life is a staged reality show. Targeted individuals believe something similar, except it's not reality television, but rather an organized killing campaign. Targeted individuals believe that almost every interaction in their daily life is rehearsed and being executed by paid actors and agents. These paid actors employ harassment techniques to keep victims afraid, anxious, sleep-deprived, agitated, and in a constant state of paranoia. Targeted individuals like Myron May claim that there are two divisions of gang stalkers: street-level gang stalkers and control panel gang stalkers. Control panel gang stalkers are allegedly in charge of monitoring victims through hacked devices and are also using directed energy weapons such as voice-to-skull technology on victims. Street-level gang stalkers are allegedly in charge of street theater. They are the people in the grocery store, on the highway, at your job. They're all just acting.
The gang stalker right there. We do skits. Look at him.
Paid by a shadowy organization to silently harass you and implement methods. Here's the scene. You accidentally drive down the wrong block. You pull into a driveway to turn around and reroute. Your headlights momentarily shine at the window of a house. That's a gang stalking tactic. Having your high beams on as you drive? Well, that's known as brighting harassment, a gang stalking tactic. Driving around with one headlight on, that's one headlight harassment. Scratching your nose or hanging your arm out of a car window, that's hand gesture harassment. You and your friends accidentally matching, that's color coordinated harassment. A lot of same colored cars all in one place, those are all gang stalkers. Ever had a green light turn red as soon as you approached it? Gang stalkers. Do you see a lot of helicopters? Those are gang stalkers. Do people cough when you walk by? Gang stalkers. Almost anything can be considered street theater. And even if these tactics were real, they would be extremely petty ones. Targeted individuals claim that's the point. It's a petty campaign, making sure that your day is filled with tiny frustration so that you're never truly at ease. These alleged tactics are not meant to be secretive. They are meant to let victims know that gang stalkers are watching. It's allegedly a constant reminder that gang stalkers are present. These are some of the most common, but there are many other behaviors that targeted individuals consider psychological harassment. Most alleged videos of gang stalking evidence on the internet contain TIs accusing random people of participating in this street theater.
Excuse me. You with the No Lights crew? I see you have one light on. You have one headlight. You know what that means? You're a gang stalker. Yeah. I get stalked by one headlight cars all day and all night.
Included in these petty tactics are noise campaigns. This includes things like honking vehicles or extremely loud modified cars persistently driving past your house, noisy neighbors or neighbors that constantly play loud music, and even electronically produced sounds that mimic animals such as dogs and roosters.
And this is the thing that really piqued my mind to, hey, there's something more going on here. This is kind of crazy. Behind the house, I kept hearing this strange cock-a-doodle-doo noise of like a rooster, but it was the same cock-a-doodle-doo without any variation to it. So it was obvious that it was like a machine and it wasn't a real rooster. And on top of that, it was like from 2 to, it was nonstop, but I noticed it when it was like from 2 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, which is kind of atypical for a rooster to be crowing nonstop from 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
And of course, there are the voices and sounds that targeted individuals hear inside of their head. But that's for a little later in the video. Allegedly, gang stalkers also practice anchoring, which is a tactic meant to confuse and instill doubt in victims. They do this by setting up scenarios and events that constantly convince targeted individuals that their gang stalking is coming from an unrelated source, such as an ex-boyfriend, an old boss, the police department, and so on. This is done to keep victims playing a never-ending game of who is the gang stalker. There are even more terrifying and intrusive tactics such as black bag operations. This is where gang stalkers secretly break into a victim's house. The gang stalker will then psychologically torment the victim by slightly moving items out of place, vandalizing, disassembling, or stealing items, and even hiding inside the house to track an individual, a real practice known as frogging. There are entire TI websites dedicated to documenting black bag operations. And some TIs, like Dr. Fasika Tafara, well, they go public.
When she'd get home from work, Fasika Tafara started noticing things out of place in her home.
They were just all open, but what was weird is, so for example, they were open like this, but they were all at the same level.
First, the windows, then lights turned on. Her cabinets pulled out.
It's intended to let me know that somebody has been here.
And it still gets creepier.
Then Tafara found this small camera in her 11-year-old son's bedroom.
She took to the internet, where she became convinced that she was being targeted and that she was the victim of gang stalking.
Tafara left her phone recording audio at her house. Listen, you can hear what sounds like people rummaging around. On one, you can hear what sounds like drilling.
So this hole here has been cut into the attic space.
It's important to note that Dr. Fasika Tafara isn't just anybody. She is a highly educated, licensed medical professional. TargetedJustice.com is a site dedicated to helping targeted individuals and documenting evidence of gang stalking. The site contains a plethora of photos, videos, documents, and resources for targeted individuals. Second-degree burns caused by satellite torture on our friend on 16/01/2019. Question: what must have been going on in the head of the responsible SAR Lupus satellite felon to commit such an intentional crime against humanity? What a shame for our German state. This is just one of many photos posted on this site. There is something clearly wrong here. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what these individuals are suffering from, but some of the faces shown look entirely distorted, and they do appear to be burned. Some of the photos have deep wounds exposed, and some even look like rotting flesh. Now, at the top of the page, there is an explanation for these photos. Targeted individuals all over the world are being burned with microwave weapons. These microwave attacks generally come from cell towers, digital beamforming, and satellites, Vercator. Now, the site goes on to say that the program is secretly funded and directed by the CIA. It's clear that these sites can be problematic. I'm sure they mean well, but these bold allegations are speculative. We really don't know the true context behind those photos. Researchers describe gang stalking as a set of persecutory beliefs. This refers to persecutory delusions, which is a type of delusional disorder where the affected individual believes that harm will occur to them by a perpetrator despite a clear lack of evidence. This is why gang stalking is a difficult subject to tackle, because whether these experiences are due to mental illness like researchers conclude, or whether something truly nefarious is happening, the truth of the matter is that people are still suffering, and that's something to be conscientious about.
If you're looking for a new computer, the place to go is Circuit City right now.
It's simple for simple program on therapeutic fiber.
Head to broad. Tristan Bold 3 detergent plus fabric soap.
If you need a little more cryptid candy in your life, check out the brand new channel Discord server, the Aerial Archives. The link will be down below in the description of this video. There you can find sneak peeks, discount on merch, participate in giveaways, submit your stories, trip reports, vote on videos, thumbnails, participate in games, join a community that's into the dark side of life, and much more. And if it means anything at all, well, you can also talk to me directly on there.
Whoa.
Want to hear your story read on a live stream? Submit it over in the Discord server, absolutely free to join.
Weather Channel. Information from across the nation, including your hometown. Stay tuned for more.
Everybody stick around because we're going to have some fun and look at this right now.
Expect weekly live streams in the Discord server, where my research team and I will host research parties. This is where you can watch us craft research for my videos and deep dive on dark topics, and you can participate in that research as well if you want to. There is an upcoming video game called Cryptid Catcher. My Discord server members will get exclusive early access to the game. And if you want to support my channel further, consider becoming a Patreon, because that stuff really helps me keep making content. Now, back to the video.
Firing outside of Strozier, came in, fired a couple shots in the lobby.
Headquarters, shots fired! Headquarters, shots fired!
Shots fired, what's your 20?
Headquarters, shots fired! Suspect down!
November 20th, 2014. Florida State University. Alma mater of the university, Myron May, entered the Strozier library and opened fire on the occupants of the room, injuring 3 individuals before being taken out by police responders. Let's take a step back for a moment. Who is Myron May, and what caused him to commit such an act of violence against innocent people? Previously, a prosecutor for the Doña Ana County District Attorney's Office, May was a well-liked member of his community, and by most of those he met. May had a girlfriend, friends, a successful career, and was well off financially. All seemed to be going well for him. So what changed?
In September, he told police he was being watched and observed. In October, May's ex-girlfriend said May told her he thought police were after him and were bugging his phone and car.
Seemingly out of nowhere, May began to believe that he was being, quote, watched by those around him, ranging from neighbors to cars on the highway, even people grocery shopping at the same time as him. May's longtime friend, Jamar, spoke about one night in which May had asked him to accompany him to the local Walmart. May had complained about being, quote, followed, periodically turning to look over his shoulder. May's girlfriend at the time reports that May believed that there were cameras in their apartment tracking his every move. She also states that May one time went as far as sleeping fully clothed with a kitchen knife in his hand, fearing that the neighbors were, quote, up to no good. His friends, family, and girlfriend would all try to reassure him that he was not being watched and that he just needed to get some help. May would refuse their reassurance and claim that they were all just wrong about the situation. By September 2014, it was clear that May was suffering from a mental condition of some kind, with Tallahassee psychotherapist Linda Miles believing that it was paranoid schizophrenia. May's behavior continued to escalate, with him alternating between brief moments of normality right back into a paranoid state. At one point, Myron May left his girlfriend a voicemail, claiming to have actually found a camera in his car. Hey Danielle, it's Myron. I just wanted you to know I found one of the cameras that was actually installed inside my vehicle. Like I literally have the camera right here in my pocket. There are several officers around me right now trying to stop me. So I thought I'd just let you know, just in case they actually pull them off and do stop me, because I have the camera and I'm bringing it to you. May appeared thin and disheveled in his appearance, claiming that he was being followed by, quote, 10 or 15 cops on his way over, going on to accuse other patients in the waiting room of his girlfriend's workplace of, quote, following him. May later showed up at her house for the last time later that night, in which she begged him to get the help that he needs, but of course he would refuse again. By the time 911 was called, May was gone. This all occurred after May resigned from his job, and it was reported that May had checked himself into the Mesilla Valley Hospital for a mental health evaluation, being released after only 4 days. By late October, May decided to travel back to his hometown of Wawahitchka for unknown reasons. But after visiting family, May decided to seek refuge in the home of David and Abigail Taunton. The pair provided and managed residential homes for boys and girls and have provided shelter for what they estimate to be over 300 youths over the years. The couple had not seen May since high school until he showed up again at their doorstep in October of 2014. May spent time visiting his own family, friends, and the Tauntons, even attending their annual camping trip. David Taunton said that May appeared, quote, at peace but slightly stressed, as if he had things on his mind. By the third week of May's stay on their property, Abigail Taunton started seeing a change in May's personality. May claimed he was having trouble sleeping, along with excruciating headaches. On November 12, 2014, May showed David a 15-minute-long video detailing supposed government technology that he claimed was capable of spying on people, along with controlling their thoughts and actions. He also went on to say that May had paid around $90 to be part of an online support group for those who claimed to be targeted individuals. 6 days before he opened fire, he posted this bizarre and disturbing post on the targeted individual's national Facebook page. Has anyone here ever been encouraged by her handler to kill with a promise of freedom. In the following days, Myron was not seen at church or at work. Worried, Abigail Taunton reached out. May would claim he just needed to get away and reassured her that he would be back. May opened fire on November 20th, 2014, physically injuring 3 individuals and forever altering the lives of more than just his community. His laptop was seized, in which an hour-and-a-half video detailing his experience as a targeted individual was found. You can watch the whole video on YouTube.
We've all had nasty neighbors, but an entire town? Think how annoyed you get when just one person honks at you. Now imagine all your neighbors driving by sitting on that horn 24/7.
In 2007, in the small town of Hubbard, Ohio, Rick and Cindy Curlich became the center of organized harassment. It all began when Rick and Cindy sued their next-door neighbor, John Clemente. See, John Clemente's house was in the middle of probate court. Rick and Cindy took this opportunity to file a lawsuit so that they could acquire the house for themselves. Essentially, they were trying to buy a house that wasn't for sale. The property was in the Clemente family for generations, so John didn't take too kindly of anyone trying to buy the family home. Rick and Cindy Curlich were ultimately not successful in purchasing the house, and even though the lawsuit was dropped, they were officially a target. At the time, John Clemente was the town fire chief, and apparently, he had friends. Almost every time a car would pass by Rick and Cindy's property, they would honk. Rick and Cindy decided to install surveillance cameras to document the harassment. The cameras around the property captured random cars, police cars, firefighters, school buses, even hearses, honking whenever they passed the Curlich property. 100 honks a day. Rick and Cindy began to document and sue every individual who honked. In 2014, the Curliches filed a complaint against more than 40 defendants. The initial judgment found that the only substantiated claim was that someone was honking car horns. But this alone did not constitute intentional infliction of emotional distress. The Curliches attempted to appeal this decision. In 2019, Rick and Cindy's appeal was denied again, and they were ordered to pay $8,250 in attorney fees for the defendants. John Clemente denies ever organizing a horn-blowing campaign against the Curlich family. Remember how earlier I said that gang stalking is often associated with paranoid schizophrenia? Well, the very first fully documented case of schizophrenia was a man named James Tilly Matthews, and he also believed that he was being gang stalked. See, many believe that gang stalking has its shadowy roots in the 1940s, when the CIA engaged in covert mind control programs such as Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke, MKUltra, and so on. But claims of this phenomena go back further, about 200 years. James Tilly Matthews was a British merchant of Welsh and Huguenot descent. He was born in 1770, and he is the very first fully documented case of schizophrenia. Interestingly, the claims established by Matthews over 200 years ago sound a lot like the modern allegations of gang stalking put forth by targeted individuals. In 1797, Matthews was confined to the notorious London Bedlam Asylum for believing that his mind was under the control of the Heirloom, a machine that he claimed used magnetic rays and mysterious gases to brainwash politicians and other unsuspecting victims. He went on to claim that the machine could alter thoughts and read minds. Matthews believed that there was a gang of criminals and spies orchestrating this harassment. He spoke of a mass brainwashing program that controlled the high politics that led to the Napoleonic Wars. John Haslam was a London apothecary. For 10 years, he documented the delusions of James Tilley Matthews in meticulous detail, and in 1810, he released the very first ever book dedicated to documenting delusions, titled Illustrations of Madness. Now, the book documented the paranoid delusions, and it also included technical diagrams of the mysterious heirloom device drawn by Matthews himself. The diagrams were strangely intricate. Matthews' drawings included batteries, barrels, cylinders, levers, and more. The device allegedly worked by meshing airs and gases into a, quote, warp of magnetic fluid. Matthews claimed that the mysterious criminal organization that controlled the heirloom implanted a magnet in his brain that allowed full control of his mind and body. He claimed to be remotely tormented with constant bouts of vivid hallucinations. He claimed that his tormentors were able to force him to speak whatever words they wanted and could inflict physical agonies upon him at will. These experiences sound a lot like the allegations put forth by victims of V2K and other directed energy weapons. So what do targeted individuals have to say about James Tilley Matthews? James Tilley Matthews, the first targeted individual. Matthews claimed that the heirloom used magnetic rays to control people's minds. Weirdly, he wasn't too far off.
That power the human machine, that influence human behavior. Let's take a man. Any man.
The most disturbing rabbit hole associated with gang stalking is the alleged electronic harassment via directed energy weapons. A directed energy weapon is a ranged weapon that uses highly focused energy without a solid projectile. This includes utilizing lasers, microwaves, high and low frequencies, particle beams, and sound beams. Targeted individuals are often deemed mentally ill, but victims claim that their mental illness is induced. Targeted individuals often refer to something called voice-to-skull technology, or by its acronym, V2K. It's also called microwave hearing because many of the alleged technologies are based on the microwave auditory effect. Voice-to-skull technology is allegedly used to induce schizophrenic symptoms in victims by transmitting voices and audio directly into a person's head. The technology to do this is real. In fact, there's a couple of different patented ways to achieve this, and much more. Microwaves are a form of electromagnetic radiation. Microwave technology allows us to heat up our food and transmit wireless power, and it also enables us to induce the perception of sounds in both hearing and deaf individuals. In 1961, neuroscientist Alan H. Frey published the first paper in the Journal of Applied Physiology on the microwave auditory effect, which is why it's also known as the Frey effect. Researchers were able to transmit the sound of a human voice directly into the heads of test subjects, absolutely inaudible to anyone else. They found that the waves activated cochlear receptors the same way that actually hearing something would. They projected spoken numbers and short words to the test subjects. What people heard in their head sounded like an electronically modulated voice. Again, no one was able to hear this except the test subjects. Another way to achieve voice-to-skull is through the radio frequency hearing effect. Patent US 6470214B1 described as a method and device for implementing the radio frequency hearing effect. The patent is classified under arrangements or circuits for monitoring, protecting, controlling, or indicating, and it's assigned to the U.S. Air Force. The phenomena was first discovered during World War II, when a subjective clicking sound was being produced by a pulsed radar signal when the transmitted power was above a certain threshold. Interestingly, when the radar signal was pulsed below the threshold level, the click could no longer be heard. The discovery of the radio frequency hearing effect suggested the idea that a pulsed radio frequency carrier could potentially be encoded. This was under the assumption that the click of the pulse carrier was similar in a way to a data sample, and could therefore be used to create both simple and complex tones, including speech. The radio frequency hearing effect is best described as a thermal to acoustic demodulation process in which energy absorption in a medium, such as a human head, causes both expansion and contraction, creating an acoustic signal. There is an entire index filled with some of the most disturbing patents imaginable. 2 separate patents that remotely cause individuals to hear voices via EMF waves, imperceptible to anyone else. U.S. Patent 5889870A from 1996 makes voices emanate from individuals who do not intend or realize it, coined the ventriloquist effect. U.S. Patent Code US 6488617B1 is described as a method and device for producing a desired brain state within an individual. US 6167304A remotely manipulates central nervous system of a subject by applying electric field to skin. US 6506148B2 manipulates subject brain waves via frequencies emanating from computer and TV screens. This index contains real US patents that alter dreams, control human behavior via extremely low frequencies, another one that remotely causes individuals to feel bodily swaying, and much, much more. There's even a patent for an imaging device that improves the aim of other directed energy weapons. And some directed energy weapons are described as extremely precise, even over distances of thousands of miles. I also found a patent with a method that identifies victims of directed energy weapons, and can also identify who the remote attacker is, which does make you wonder why there's a patent on this at all. Directed energy weapons really are the perfect controversy. If hypothetically these weapons are being used against targeted individuals, there would really be no way to prove it. It's the perfect crime. And if these weapons are not being used, the fact that they exist at all is enough to validate the narrative that maybe they could be. So I guess the real question is, what are these technologies being used for? Operation Wandering Soul was a propaganda campaign and psychological warfare tactic exercised by the US military during the Vietnam War. They would fly over targeted areas, projecting eerie sounds and audio through speakers that were meant to sound like the ghost of dead Vietnam soldiers wandering around in the afterlife. They recorded real Vietnamese soldiers and had them say things like, "My body is gone. I am dead. My family. Tragic. How tragic. My friends, I came back to let you know that I am dead. I am dead. I am in hell."
Ba đang về với con. Tôi đã về với mình đây. Nhưng tôi còn đâu mảnh hàng nữa.
The audio was meant to psychologically play into the deep-rooted beliefs of Vietnamese culture that shows a lot of respect for the dead. These sounds scared a lot of Vietnamese soldiers into surrendering. The audio was played through speakers from an aircraft, but as it turns out, the military might have developed an even sneakier way to do this.
And something that I worked on, and I'm not proud of, but it's called the Voice of God weapon. So there are 4 different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains.
The Voice of God weapon is a device that projects voices into your head to make you think that God is speaking to you. Well, okay. The Voice of God device was allegedly used during the Gulf War to convince Iraqi soldiers that Allah was commanding them to surrender. This device does not have official confirmation to actually exist or to have been utilized, though there have been very credible inside people that have come out to say that it does exist. For now, it sort of exists like a military urban myth, though technically, they really do have the technology, and as we saw, the patents to achieve it, so I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, in 2018, an article detailed how the US military is making lasers that creates voices out of thin air. Other devices are confirmed, like the Medusa, an acronym for Mob Excess Deterrent using silent audio. It's intended to be used for crowd control. The Medusa sends shockwaves inside a person's skull. The scary part is that since it technically bypasses the ears, there is essentially no way to block it out. It can also be used as an invisible scarecrow to deter birds because apparently, birds are very sensitive to microwaves. Then there's the active denial system, a non-lethal directed energy weapon that can heat the water in an individual's skin that causes incapacitating pain. Apparently, there's been concerns that this may actually cause irreversible damage to the eyes, but it's still being tested. These are a few samples of patents and technologies, but there are a lot more. In fact, there's a lot that I'm choosing to consciously not mention. These are the technologies that targeted individuals point at when they hear voices in their head. This is why targeted individuals don't believe that they're mentally ill. They believe they are fighting a shadowy organization that is inflicting these experiences onto them. And targeted individuals try to fight these attacks, however they can. On the site targetedjustice.com, there are instructions for targeted individuals on how to protect themselves against these alleged microwave attacks. They call it water shielding. The idea is that water absorbs microwaves, so a contraption is designed to surround one's head with water so that targeted individuals can get some sleep, because many claim that the microwave attacks are so vicious that they can't sleep at night. And there actually is a proven way to block out electromagnetic radiation from directed energy weapons. And I'm not joking. Tinfoil hats. Yes, aluminum foil. With all of this said, why would a government or any organization isolate and target people? Some say you become targeted for being a whistleblower. Some believe you stepped on someone's toes and ended up on some quote list. And others say you are targeted for no reason at all. In fact, this is probably the most widely believed reason, is that there is no reason. Targeted individuals often believe that people are picked at random to be part of a secret human experimentation that subjects people to non-consensual mind control, aka MKUltra 2.0. Now, even though there are a lot of patents on this technology and there are some obvious war-related applications to them, I don't believe these technologies are being used on everyday people. In fact, disclaimer, I am not, and this video is not, saying that the government or any organization is using directed energy weapons on unwilling participants at all. with a video like this, you know I need a lot of disclaimers. All of this does make you think a little, though. I mean, have you ever had the eerie feeling of being watched for no good reason? Have you ever misplaced an item only to have it reappear in a strange location? Have you ever had a moment where you could have sworn that someone called your name? You ask everyone in the house, only to find out that no one ever called you. Well, maybe. Just maybe. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm sorry I've been gone for a while. I've hired some researchers to help me be a little more consistent, so you can expect a lot of new content more consistently. If you are into researching these kinds of subjects, like this type of stuff is your fucking jam, email me. Maybe you can join the team. It really means a lot to have your support, so please consider becoming a Patreon and joining the Discord. And as always, I will see you in the next one.